Oh, I'm starting to hear audio, I think.
Okay, all right, we're good.
Well, since nobody can hear anything, we can just start from the beginning, like we didn't actually start at all.
Exactly. Okay. Well, sorry about that again, folks. It is XBR Podcast back again with another one. Your boy MM2K, your boy Neethles, Grahic out there. Sorry about that, guys. We're having some technical difficulties, some things not working right. But again, if you can reintroduce Neethles, what we're trying to do here with the show and what particular show we have lined up today, and I'm gonna try to tweak some things in the background.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to XBR. I know it's been a while since we've done this podcast. This is one of my favorite podcasts of the week, but unfortunately, things happen in the background. Moss had to take a little break, and then I had to take a little break, and we're dealing with some stuff in the background, but I promise you, XBR will be coming back very soon. In fact, this may be the start of XBR being weekly again or bi-weekly, and while that's going on, we're getting ready for E3 coming up here soon. Right now, it's the calm before E3, but I'm enjoying some things. Like right now, I'm playing Mortal Kombat, playing my Apex Legends. Just got another W this morning. And, Moss over there is on the Division 2, and when he's on his free time, he plays more to the Division 2. And when he doesn't have free time, he's still playing the Division 2. So, heavy gaming all around for the broadband bullies. And today, we have a very special guest, the Graphic God, one of the best producers. No. The best producer around.
Facts.
Shout yourself out, Graphic God.
Oh, I'm so glad you corrected yourself there. No, I won't even take the credit as being the best of anything because I had a lot of people help me out too. So, I give lots of shout outs as much as I can to people like Mike Inferno. There's just too many people to even mention. But anyway, the question was, how am I doing? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's Friday night. I'm having beer. I'm with my fam. That's all that matters.
And that's all that matters. And I hear you just went on vacation, didn't you? Didn't you just relax a bit?
Yeah. I just I was in Cuba for a week, and
that's
I'm
awesome.
I'm not sure if many Americans go to Cuba yet. I know that there was when Obama was in office, I think he basically made amends with Cuba, and I thought that Cuba and the United States were going to become buddies again, but I think since Trump jumped in, I think he put the kibosh to that. But you guys have a lot of tropical places to go to, many more than us Canadians for sure. So, but we had a great time. I spent a week either on the beach or at the pool, drinking lots of beer, drinking lots of rum, eating, having people bring me stuff. It was just awesome.
That's good, man. Because like Neith said, you are the hardest working producer in showbiz, the best out there, and you definitely needed that break, man. Definitely.
No, definitely. I appreciate the compliments, guys. Thanks.
So, Neith, if you could, I'm still clacking under the sink and trying to get the Drano down the tubes. If you could just do a quick rundown of what we're trying to do here at XBR.
Yeah, absolutely. So today is a very special XBR episode. We've been wanting to do this for a while, and finally things lined up for us today. So today we will be talking about the ugly side of YouTube gaming, featuring our special guest Graphic God, and talk about how things go behind the scenes, the production value, the meetings, the DMs, talking and getting these articles up and ready, having everyone do their quick knowledge check, because half these people, they hop in a podcast and never read the article. I'm guilty of this. And the amount of work that goes into doing this, like a lot of people assume you get like 3 friends together and you start a podcast, and maybe that's true for some people and maybe they find success that way, but I'm telling you, at least from my experience from doing this for roughly 2 years, I think there's a lot of work that goes into this. There's a lot of I guess you would say infighting sometimes, and that's unfortunate. But honestly, we have the special guest Graphic God here, and nobody knows about working harder, putting the prep time, and doing more for these YouTube shows that, we all take for granted than Graphic God. Like, Graphic God, can you give like an estimation of like the amount of time you do to put on these type of shows, to put on great productions like you have?
So like in any given week, I'd be spending anywhere between maybe 10 to 15 hours. And that depends. I mean, there may be a week that goes by that maybe 5 hours, but I'd say the average was 10 to 15. And those hours were spent either doing prep work, like editing, creating skits, coming up with new pop-up animations and voiceovers and things like that. Testing, of course. There was meetings, of course, sometimes during the week that, we would get together and, discuss what we're going to talk about this week. And yeah, just a lot of that. And a lot of it was just me kind of playing with things, trying things out. You know, like I was not always an expert at this stuff. And I still don't consider myself an expert. I learn stuff all the time. But, you know, I had a lot of help from people showing me the ropes. OBS was very daunting in the beginning, and I wasn't actually using it. The beginning of MNC, we were using, it was another product. I can't think of it right now. Anyway, I'll think of it during the podcast. But we were using another product, and then when I got familiar with OBS, I realized how much more it could do for us. And that's when we took the whole podcast to the next level. And, you know, we made it seem more like a radio show where we had call-ins, we had voicemails. You know, we had our own little rat pack, if you think about it, or whack pack. We had the same not the same, but we had a lot of the same people call in every week. We had skits from Yoshida, and if you guys remember those some of those were hilarious.
Yes, they were.
You know, there was just a lot of stuff that we did behind the scenes, and a lot of stuff I did behind the scenes. And but yeah, you're right. You know, like these podcasts aren't simply sit down and click start and start talking. There's a lot of work that's involved in getting them going.
And
no, the amount of prep work is ridiculous. And
absolutely.
Go ahead, MM2K.
No, I was going to say, and a lot. I mean, to Jay's point, a lot of people don't understand the work and the dedication that you put on this into that show. And because of all that hard work, that helped boost, you know, whether people want to admit it or not, that helped boost the recognition level of Mooch and Crap. You know, that helps put the spotlight on them. I mean, that something like that was not being done out in the YouTube world everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And me and Neethles was talking about this even before we went on the air. Is that, you know, we were fans of the MNC morning show. You know what I'm saying? Like, for those of you that are longtime followers, we even both have our own embarrassing story. I was going to force Neethles to go first, but I'll go first, being how I had the technical hiccup. So, if you guys remember, I can't remember. I think it was episode 20. I called in. I was a regular caller. You know, I would talk to Jay, have a nice conversation with Jay. Jay would give me the rundown of what to say, when to say it, or whatever, just so it would work with the show. Not exactly what to say, I'm sorry, but when to say it and how to say it, because Mooch and Crap couldn't hear on the other line. I also would send in voice recorded calls too. So one day I introduced myself to Audacity and Adobe Premiere. So I thought I'd be cute and I'd create a skit, right? Well, when I sent the skit in, the volume levels were low. It had something to do with a bicycle bell or whatever. It went over horribly, right? It was the first flush call in YouTube content creation history. So with that being said, I was like, oh man, this is horrible. Everyone was like, oh, boo, boo, you know, throw him off the stage. So I called in the next week and I said, you know what? I learned my lesson. And Jay was so nice. He was so courteous. He was like, oh, was that you? He said, hey, look, man, don't even worry about it. You know, everybody goofs up like that. Just leave us your message. Let us know how it goes. You know what I'm saying? And so forth. And ever since then, I've really had a lot of respect for Jay. So I just wanted to share my embarrassing story. But again, to show that we were all fans of the product. And that a lot of that product was there because of J-Dubs. You know what I'm saying?
Like J-Dubs, before I let you go again, you're our esteemed guest, but I gotta say this. Mooch and Crap, that show would have not existed without you.
Yeah.
Like, solely you were the product, Jay. Mooch and Crap may have been the ones talking. You may have had your little skits. You may have done your little one-liners. But you're the one who was the mastermind behind the whole thing, putting the production together, making it smooth, making it, honestly, more than a podcast. In my opinion, Mooch and Crap, that show almost evolved to being a radio show. Exactly. Like, that's how impressive it really was. And that was all because of your hard work. Jay, you say you put in 15 to 20 hours. Maybe that's because you're experienced and you got your help. But let's be honest, Jay, like some of that probably in the beginning, let's say, might have been closer to 25, maybe 30 hours because you might be being nice about it and you might be talking about the later end. Because
and I never always like calculated how long I took on these things. I just know that like if anyone who's listening does video editing, yes, they know how long that shit takes.
Yeah.
You know, like if we did a 10-minute skit, 10 minutes would be about an hour or more of editing. Sometimes
and that's being with experience.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been doing this stuff for 20 years. You know, like I've got lots of experience in multimedia and graphic design. So some people may come back and say, well, Jay, you know, you're good at that stuff, so it didn't take you as long.
No.
But do you say that about like someone who does construction, you know, just because they're experienced that they shouldn't, you know, and because it doesn't take them very long that you shouldn't pay them for what they're, you know, what they're worth or what they've done? Just, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense at all.
And Jay, let's be honest, like this is a great passion project you were doing with Mooch and Crap, and I found much success. I love the show, absolutely loved it. But Jay, you know, you have your own career, you have your own things you have to do back at your own life. So we have to think about it. This is 15, 25 hours you're estimating. That's on top of what you're doing in real life. Like imagine guys, these podcasters, a lot of them are adults, so they have at least a 30 to 40 hour job, sometimes more. Like Showstopper, for example, I guarantee you he's working about 50 hours, maybe even more sometimes. Imagine doing that and then having like 10 hours. Let's just go down to 10 hours of prep work for these shows. That's a lot of extra time. So you're talking about if he works 40 hours, that's a 50-hour job really he's really doing. And they're doing this because they're passionate. I'm telling you right now, a lot of these podcasts that stick around, you know, like Salty is Gaming here in the chat, he does a fantastic job too. I bet you he puts in at least 10, 20 hours into doing his stuff every week. And he does multiple shows. At least. UK Daz, same story. Andy, Mac, you know, shout out to you. I want to shout out to some of you guys for coming in and supporting us. Snow Bunny, great new addition to our other show, Scram Punks, you know, doing a fantastic job there. Cali Rex, he's a small YouTuber like us. He's starting his own podcast. If not, it's already out. I think it was called No Bullshit Gaming. You know, Cali Rex, you're about to be introduced into the world of podcasting and how long this takes. You're going to learn firsthand. Like, these podcasters, we like to make fun of them. We like to rag on them, but you don't know how much work they really put into this. You don't know how much time they put into this. And honestly, you know, we take podcasts for granted, but it's a lot of work. Like Salty is Gaming just said there, yeah, it's a lot of work, and he knows it. Yeah. Like me, Salty is Gaming's been around about as long as me. Yeah. Me and him know each other. We were on a podcast a few times. I know he works hard. I know he does.
It's a slow grind. You know what I mean? And
very slow.
It may be quicker for others, you know. But if you have a mentality of, I want to help you out and I want to see you shine. If you have that mentality, then great. But then if you get this mentality like, hey, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, where's put the cape around my neck and you all follow me, then that's where you get into a lot of the things that we're going to discuss today that should be avoided and really shouldn't be part of the community. It's a shame when it happens, but it is what it is, right? So,
yep.
But before we get too deep into that, do you have a story too, Nathos, that you would like to share? You're just going to leave me out here like that?
I have two stories, but I'm going to tell you one right now. We'll save the other one for the end. So my first story is, well, basically what I've been talking about. I was a huge fan of Mooch and Crap. I was a huge fan of BGST. I was a big fan of, you know, Xbox gaming YouTube, because I started watching like BGST and stuff when I was still actually a sophomore in high school, and I was really invested into the world. Like, I was going through a hard time. I can't really talk about that part, but know that I watched this YouTube and it really kind of helped me escape in some aspects. I know that sounds pathetic, but it is what it is. And when I met Zaire and stuff and he allowed me onto the show, it was great, right? I was enthralled. I was hanging out with the godfather of this Xbox community. I know he became a pony, but that's a different story. So I remember I had... Oh, I think the screen just went white.
It went. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties, but, you know, bear with
That's all right. As long as you can hear the audio, that's what matters. Yeah. And I remember, you know, I had this, like, almost... It's embarrassing to say, a Mooch and Crap tramp stamp. Like, it was really bad. Like, I was enthralled with Mooch and Crap. J-Dubs can even talk about it here. He's like, okay, this guy's a little too much of a fan. And honestly, I was. But then, you know, I met Mooch and Crap, and, you know, it's kind of like what I would say Kingsblood Gaming told me. He says, Neth, when you meet some of these YouTubers, it's like finding out how magic works. Some of these people, I'm saying some of these people, may not be who you think they are. And we're going to really dive into stuff like that. We're going to dive into the ugly side of YouTube gaming. So I guess my embarrassing story is I was enthralled with this whole Mooch and Crap world, and then reality hit when I did learn about this YouTube gaming stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we got, and don't fret, we got Nethel's tramp stamp removed. You know, we all chipped in and had the laser.
Yeah, that was an intervention and a half.
But with that being said, hey, look, you know, so people are probably thinking out here that are listening, that may not be aware of what happened, what did happen, Jay. You know what I mean? Like, so let's inform people. Let's let them know what happened. Let's give them your side, and then let's dig deep into that. Okay. But first, to help people understand everything from A to Z, let us know how did you enter this community first and foremost, Jay?
So I'm sure this must have happened like a lot of people here back in 2013 during the Xbox One reveal. I was always an Xbox guy, and I've been an Xbox guy for many, many years. When that all happened, and I went on YouTube, of course, to see some content regarding Xbox. And it turned out that everything I was seeing was negative against Xbox, and that was kind of getting me down.
Yep.
And I came across a couple people that were being positive. One was Zaire, and one was Crapgamer.
Gotcha.
And so I started watching their content, mainly because, I don't know, some people may think, well, you know, you're just putting on the rose-colored glasses, but that wasn't it. It was just that I never owned a PlayStation. I'd never had any kind of connection to it. Therefore, you know, anything that was PlayStation related just didn't appeal to me. So I just wanted to see the Xbox stuff, and I wanted to finally find somebody who did have something good to say about it. And these guys were the ones that started it. So I started watching a lot of the YouTube videos, and you know, at the time, I don't think Crap was putting out as many as he does now. But it was, you know, there were 4 or 5 different guys I was watching, but I think the majority were Crap and Zaire.
Gotcha.
And so me being a graphic designer, I started watching Crap a lot, noticing a lot of other people were kind of selling their brand, right? Yep. And you could go online and you could see, like, I was big into Revision 3 at the time. I don't know if anyone remembers Revision 3.
Yeah, with Adam Sessler and company.
Exactly, right? Yep. So, and I used to go there and watch a lot of their gaming podcasts and stuff, and they had merchandise and stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool. So then one day I was watching Crap, and I thought, you know what? I wonder if this guy would like to have a T-shirt to sell to his fans. And I was noticing that he was getting more and more fans all the time. He was getting more popular. So I sent him an email. He didn't respond.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's fine. And then it was like probably a month or more. I was probably sending him messages throughout his podcasts. And I might have DM'd him at the time, and I can't remember if back then Twitter would allow you to DM people that weren't following you. I think they would. So I'd DM him, and then finally he got back to me, and he said, oh, that'd be a cool idea. Thanks a lot. So I sent him some designs, and he said, oh, these are really cool. And it was around that time that he got into BGST.
Okay.
And then it kind of snowballed from there, where he saw what I was providing to him, and he thought, hey, maybe you can help us guys on BGST come up with our own little personas and stuff. And that's where the whole idea of these customized gamer picks came about. They weren't gamer picks at the time. They were just kind of avatars.
Gotcha.
So then, of course, I designed one for him, and one for Zaire, and one for Showstopper. And I think at the time, who's the other? Worry Wart. I think Worry Wart was in there.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them, and they were all doing BGST. So I sent them all designs, and next thing you know, they loved them and they're using them. And then I kind of got moved more into that, and I got connected with Z, and me and Z became pretty good friends. I started designing stuff for Z personally. I started doing avatars for him, and then doing designs for his different podcasts, because there was one time he was doing like 5 podcasts, I think.
Okay.
And I think what's he down to 3 now? Maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah. I think we're down to 3, but it might shoot back up to 8 before the end of the month.
I kept designing stuff for him, and then slowly, and I didn't know Mooch at the time, but slowly Mooch moved his way in, and Mooch became part of BGST. And I got to know all the guys that way just by designing them icons and whatever. And to be honest with you, because I'm a designer, it is a hobby as much as it is a job, and I enjoy doing it. So when I'm doing these things for these guys, it's like, it's me playing a video game. It's really, that's how fun I have, how much fun I have designing this stuff. So Mooch and I became close friends, and let's fast forward a bit.
Yep.
After doing BGST stuff for a while, I guess Mooch and Crap behind the scenes had been talking about the show that they wanted to do. And oh, sorry, I have to actually go back a little bit more than that. When Mooch was doing BGST, he was getting a lot of requests from people to do his own content, not just BGST stuff. Because I guess he was, he was guesting on a bunch of podcasts, but didn't have anything of his own.
This was Mooch, you said, right?
This was Mooch, yeah.
Okay.
So Mooch approached me, and he said, "Jay, I see how much talent you have. How would you like to go into business with me, and we build another couple of podcasts?" And they weren't actually podcasts; they were more like pre-recorded stuff that he was going to put onto his site. And he was pitching some ideas to me, and I thought, "Oh, this is a great idea. This is fun stuff. I like this stuff." And he said to me, "Yeah, man." He said, "Why don't we do this?" And I explained to him. I said, "What you're explaining sounds a lot of fun, but it does sound like a lot of work." And he said, "Well, how about this?" He said, "We will share any of the YouTube revenue that comes out of this." Like he said, he'd split it with me 50%. And I was thinking, wow, well, if this gets popular, then maybe, maybe this would make a few dollars and I'd have some beer money.
Okay. Well, so to make sure everybody caught that, because that's very important. And I think it'll maybe tie in to help people understand, again, what happens behind the scenes. What was that revenue split that was verbally agreed upon?
Yeah, it was like, so him and I agreed that he would split it 50%.
50%. Okay, 50-50 split. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because, I mean, he was providing me with audio.
Yep.
And not to take anything away from how long it takes to get a good radio cut down, because I know it does.
Absolutely,
Yeah. And so he would provide me the audio. I would edit it, because, of course, he would have mistakes in his audio. He would say, "Oh, Jay, I'm going to do that again," and I would just cut that out and stuff like that. So he would send me some audio. I would edit it, and then I would incorporate it into some graphics. So if anyone remembers back when Mooch was doing Mooch's Minutes, Growing Up Gaming, and there was one other one. Mooch's Minutes, Growing Up Gaming, and Mooch Reviews.
So Mooch had his own damn variety show. Holy shit.
Well, yeah. and to be honest with you, when we first released the very first episode of Growing Up Gaming, which was basically the Mooch character, and back then he was like kind of like an Uncle Sam type character.
Gotcha. Okay.
And because he's all American, he's pro American.
Gotcha.
That was kind of the persona he was pushing. He still kind of does, I guess.
Yeah.
And so we did this thing where it was him sitting at a desk, almost like a talk show, and he would go over topics, and there'd be a screen on the wall behind him, and his little character would move. I mean, he wasn't fully animated, but he'd had like 20 different positions that he would move into. Anyway, when we first launched that, he was getting like crazy hits on it. People were saying it was like one of the best premiere shows that they had seen. The first time he'd ever put a video out, and he was getting major recognition over it. I'm not sure if anyone here remembers that, but he was getting very good recognition. And then first thing after the show had launched, he and I got on to chat, and it was like, well, that was awesome. We got a lot of people saying how great it was, and we both kind of said, this looks like it might be a success.
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt that, Jay. I mean, Mooch is very talented. Regardless of how things may have shaken out.
Oh man, the guy can talk on any subject.
Exactly. And make it sound so interesting. He'll be, "This sludge that was on the side of the house," and then you're like, "Holy shit! Okay, let me turn it up. Let's hear about this sludge." He's very talented. But
what's the saying? They use a term here in Canada that he could sell ice cubes to an Eskimo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yep. Yeah. That's it. Saltiest chat in the gaming says, "I don't get these personas, man. Shit's weird." Oh man, I'm sorry, but go ahead, Jay.
That's okay. So that went well, and then because that went very well, we decided to expand a little bit, and we started doing Mooch's minutes, which were basically 1 minute long. Mm-hmm. It was basically a Mooch rant. Gotcha. And if anyone here knows Mooch, he's really good at ranting. So we would do a Mooch rant, and it would just basically be him and this little character with a funny background with different images popping up. Okay. Anyway, so I produced all that stuff. He would send me the audio, and I'd do it all. Okay. So that went out for a while, and because we were doing so well with that, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit from what I said earlier, he and Crapgamer, I guess, had a conversations behind the scenes, and they were thinking that they wanted to do a morning show.
Gotcha.
Because no one else was doing morning shows at the time, and they wanted to do something that was unique. And of course, Mooch said, "Well, we should get Jay involved because Jay's doing all my stuff and everyone loves it." And and Jay be the man to do this the right way and make it unique. So they got me involved, and they said, "Jay, would you like to do this?" And I said, "Well, it like I said, it's going to be work, but let's go ahead and see how it goes." And if anything, it was going to give me some experience because I wanted the experience with OBS. I was very, very green back then, trying to figure this stuff out, and even to this day, I mean, you can from firsthand experience that OBS can just shit the bed.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Whenever it wants.
Yep.
And we ran into a lot of that, and of course, I was always trying to be proactive and make sure that shit didn't happen, but. You can never always.
That came the moniker Jay. I mean,
that's right. That's right. So they approached me with the MNC mornings. I said, "Let's do it." And if anyone goes back and watches the very first MNC mornings, you'll see how rough it was. Yeah. But because it was so rough, it made me want to be better. Right.
Yeah.
So I kept improving and kept getting better, and I kept at it. That's why I was spending up to 10 to 20 hours a week. Trying to perfect it, trying to make it perfect. Because not only was it their reputations on the line, it was mine as well. Even though I'm just Jay, the producer, and I was like the guy in the background that didn't say a whole lot, every episode I was working. Like every episode for 2 hours, sometimes 2.5 hours, I was hitting buttons, making things pop up at the right time, taking phone calls. That was another I think we weren't the first people to do live calls. I believe that was Console Corner.
Okay.
But we took it to the next level by accepting voicemails.
Yeah.
Yep. Because we know some people don't want to be heard live. They don't want to talk live, and they'll get a little nervous. So we gave people the option, pre-record it. Record it on your phone.
I know all about those voicemails. You set that bear trap for me and embarrassed the shit out of me.
Yeah. Actually, I remember those voice calls because I think the origin of it, yes, Console Corner really is the one who did it professionally. But back in the day on BGST, I remember Zaire actually took voice calls over Skype. And my God, was that a mess. But that's kind of what led down to, Console Corner doing it and you doing it on Mooch and Crap. But J-Dubs, as I'm just sitting here watching this chat, really doing nothing, I just have to think of your story here. And how stressful was that to do everything live? Because when you're live, mistakes happen and you can't edit it. Like, how stressful was that to be on cue?
I'm going to say, but probably for a year. Because we did it for almost 2 years. For almost a year, I think I was sweating before every episode and sweating throughout most of it.
Sweating, okay.
Yeah. Very nervous that things were going to go wrong. And, it wasn't all about me either. It was like, I don't want these guys to look like hacks either. Right?
Yeah.
I'm part of this group, and at least I thought I was a partner. And we'll get more into that later. But it just, it was everyone's reputation on the line, and we wanted to make this unique, and we wanted to make it good. You wanted to make sure that people were entertained.
Absolutely. So, what I mean, so even you put all this effort in, Jay, right? Because, and this is a very similar story to me, but this is not about me. You know, I came to this side of content creation because I was I am an Xbox fan. I was enthusiastic about the brand. I was enthusiastic about the product that I had in my hand, but everybody was talking shit. It can't do 60 frames per second, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of the podcasts that I listened to, I had to abandon, and that's how I came over here. With that being said, so you're putting in this hard work. You're putting in this production. You're doing it in the name for the Xbox community, correct? You know what I'm saying?
That's
For those that felt like you and those that felt like me. To see, let's fast forward a little bit. Let's get in the hot tub time machine. To see a lot of these people right now that some, I think, are skeptical of Xbox, including myself for valid reasons, but some are just jumping ship because it's the thing to do. How does that bother you? Does that make you feel a certain way that there were a lot of people flip-flopping and jumping ship all of a sudden?
You know what? I'll make fun of it and I'll joke about it, but to be honest with you, I'm like, you know, I'm in my 40s. I don't give a shit what people like and whatever. Yeah. I know what I like, and that's all that matters to me, really. But to a point, because I'm so connected to the whole YouTube community, that when I see people doing that, it only makes me feel like you're only doing it. You're only going to what's popular because it's popular. Like I've never been like that. I've never been one of these. I've never jumped ship on anything. Like, for God's sakes, I'm Canadian. Of course, I love hockey. Yeah. And I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan. Montreal Canadiens haven't made the playoffs in a couple of years. Doesn't stop me from being a Montreal Canadiens fan. Yep. You know, that's just the way it is. I mean, it's in my blood. Absolutely. And not to say that gaming and Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo's the same, but it's just part of me. Like, I don't just jump ship for the sake of jumping ship. And when I see people do that, you know, I kind of feel like they're being weak. That's all. You know, everyone's got their personal preferences, and I understand that, and that's fine. Yeah. But don't just jump ship because someone's having a bad year or a bad couple of years. I mean, we can all agree that, at least I hope we can all agree that even though Xbox, you know, people can say, well, they lost this generation. Well, what does lost really mean? I'm sure that Microsoft doesn't think they lost anything. You know, the fact that they've made billions of dollars every quarter. I mean, I think they're pretty happy. You know, you know, if you want to compare them to Sony sold more consoles, but did they make more money? I don't really know. I don't keep track of that stuff. I have a feeling they didn't. You know, Microsoft makes a lot of money, not just in gaming. And it seems like Sony is making, probably 90% of their revenue comes from gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. And even in that instance, let's say Sony makes more money in gaming, which I think they do. At the end of the day, how much more money is Microsoft really hurting? Because how much effort did Sony put in? How much effort did Microsoft put in? That's a factor you have to put in. Now, from a consumer aspect, I could look at the Sony side and say, like, wow, they had a fantastic 2018. 2019 is a little bit better than Xbox's 2019, but I think they're kind of neck and neck. Honestly, we get Gears 5 soon. But in 2017, you know, I think PlayStation blew Xbox out of the water. But this whole flip-flopping, and I see, you know, J-Dubs here in the chat, Kratos, not Graphic God, he does things like sign contracts. That's a little funny thing in our community. Now, guys, I'll be honest with you. A lot of these Xbox guys who suddenly went pony, not all of them, but some of them, you know, they're just doing it for laughs, right? Like Zaire, we could call him King Pony, but what console is he on every night? We know he's on the Xbox every night. People call me a pony. Guys, I haven't turned on my PlayStation since like Spider-Man. I'm going to be honest with you. Alrighty, we're Xbox guys. We want better for our brand. We look to the PlayStation side and say, you know, Microsoft, I hope you look at them as an example of getting games out there. And it looks like they're doing that with the studio acquisitions and so on. But that's not the point right now. I want to talk about this ugly side of gaming YouTube, which this special is about. And Graphic God, speaking about the flip-flopping topic, there is a very specific story that actually involves you, and that was with a certain Iron Patriot, I will say. Now, there was someone who went by Iron something or other, and He one day went to the PlayStation side. That's fine. The Xbox wasn't doing it for him.
Are you purposely not using his real name?
Oh man. Alrighty. So I think someone called him Iron Puppy one time.
We called him Iron Patriot. That sounds like a Metal Gear Solid character, but go ahead.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was, he went to the PlayStation side because Xbox wasn't doing it for him. That's fine. I understand that.
Sure.
But the way he did it was very interesting because he didn't go to the PlayStation side and to say, like, look, the games are here. He went to the PlayStation side and started shitting on everything Xbox does, and even community people. Like, he got to the point where he was cursing out his fellow friends, his fellow podcasters, and so on, and just being what I would say almost toxic. Like, it got to the point, Jay, where he started accusing you of stealing artwork. Would you share your light on this?
He was calling me a fraud. You know, like that. I had done so much work for that guy and so much work for nothing, for free, because he was an Xbox. Yeah, tons of stuff for free. And there was even a time where I did some stuff for him that he owed me, that he promised me that he'd give me some money for it, which I didn't always look for money, but I mean, my time's valuable too. And depending on what I was doing that time, he might have said, oh, well, if you do this for me, I'll give you, $20, whatever. I don't remember exactly the details, but when he flipped, and I'm just going to use that term because it's the easiest one to use.
Yeah, it is.
He was bashing me, and it was like baffling. Like, why are you doing this to me? Like, what does it benefit? Like, if anything, you're going to look bad here because I did a lot of free stuff for you. On top of that, you owe me money. And now, like, it was almost like he had gone down the path so far that he didn't know his way back, so he had to just keep going. You know what I mean? Like, he just couldn't he couldn't come to the realization that what he was doing was wrong. He just knew that I'm jumping ship, and if I'm going down this road, I'm going full blast. And he was getting very, very toxic and stuff like that. But yeah, it's so funny you even mentioned him because I haven't even thought of that guy in so long.
And the reason I mentioned him is because I think like he's really the original flip-flopper, if I can think about it, from the Xbox community at least. Like, I remember when he flip-flopped, that was like the big deal. Like, I remember people were actually calling Mooch and Crap back when you were reducing it, and they actually did take some shots at him. And I always did find that funny because that's not about flip-flopping. For example, Zaire, you can say he flip-flopped, right? But he isn't out here bashing community members or whatever, or at least not just for the sake of doing it. Maybe he does it for his own reasons. But he just went out and like just burnt every bridge I can think of. He went and destroyed things. He didn't pay back certain individuals who helped him almost go to E3. That was another bombshell.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
J-Dubs, you said you did artwork for him for free. Now, J-Dubs, maybe artwork, you're a professional at it, but I imagine that still takes time, care, effort, blood, sweat. He did that all for free, and I think his response to you was, well, I promoted him. He should be happy.
Yeah, well, I would think so. And the one of the avatars that I did for him was probably the most time-consuming and detailed avatar I'd ever done. That it was basically of him holding a shotgun or a lancer. A Nasher, and very, very, very detailed. And of course, when he first saw it, he was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And it's like, "Listen, buddy, you're welcome. Just take it. I'm glad that you're happy. Go and use it." I mean, that was one thing, but I mean, other than that, I was designing him interfaces. Back then, I think I was also doing the layouts for the Xbox One when you were allowed to put custom layouts in your background on your console. I was doing those as well, and I designed him a bunch of those. I was even designing logos for his podcasts. There was just so much stuff that I was doing for nothing for him, and then him to turn around and just if I was to be honest, I'd say I was kind of hurt by it, only because of I thought he and I were friends, but then right now, like I said, I haven't even thought about the guy in so long.
So, and that's a perfect segue into how that may have Did that change your perspective at all while you were on MNC? Or let me phrase it this way: how was the relationship on MNC? How, I mean, you know, how was it? Did you notice any of that while in MNC? Talk to us a little bit about how you guys interacted, things that happened behind the scenes, and how things may have turned into a different direction.
So the relationship was probably really good in the beginning, especially with Mooch, because I was doing so many different things for Mooch, between Mooch's Minutes and Growing Up Gaming. He and I talked a lot more during the week, but when I got involved with MNC, you know, we would have a weekly meeting with Crap, and, you know, it wasn't always every week, but Crap got involved and I got to talking to him a little more and got to know him a little more. In the beginning, things were fine. You know, things were great. But I slowly noticed that throughout the course of the show, I was getting a lot of comments from them like, "Hey Jay, you can do that. That shouldn't take very long." Or, "Hey Jay, what do you think about this?" And of course, you know, me being, you know, I'm the third wheel basically. Wanted to make a good impression, so I'd say yes to everything. You know, I wanted to do it. I want to make a name for myself, I guess, in a way. I mean, I know how shallow that may sound, but I always wanted to get into YouTube, and I just didn't have the personality. I knew that I was kind of shy behind the mic. You know, I'm not the type of person that people will actually want to look at, so it wasn't something that I was really comfortable with. But I thought, you know, my strengths are in graphics and animation and stuff and multimedia, so maybe that's my in onto YouTube. So, you know, anytime they come up with an idea, I would be like, yeah, let's try it, let's do it. So for the first little while, everything was good. I can't even think of a situation where I may have been starting to feel differently about the guys, but it was probably like, let me just jump back a little bit. So Mooch and I were probably closer, I would say, for sure.
Gotcha.
Crap was Crap's always been the same guy. You know, he's very much more concerned about the views, concerned about the persona. I mean, and even Mooch was concerned about his persona after that whole shit that happened with him, where that guy started leaking off his info. He left YouTube for a little while. I mean, that started really getting to Mooch, and you know, I even to this day I feel bad for him. Like, that shouldn't happen.
No, everyone
absolutely.
That's just wrong.
Absolutely,
that's just wrong shit. You don't do that. That guy was an asshat, whoever did that.
Totally agree.
But what I noticed happening after so long was that the conversations, like, because we would always talk just before the show and talk after the show, it started turning into, oh, we only had this many views, or we only had this many people, or we only had this many calls this week, or it started turning into a numbers game, and it was like, well, that's not why I'm into this. You know, like, we're not in this for the numbers. We're in this to have fun, to make something that's unique. But it slowly started. Exactly.
For the culture, right? Like,
And
so what you're saying, Jay, is, you know, they're interested in these numbers. And, you know, numbers at least what revenue. So, Jay, you know, so far the theme of this interview is, you know, the work you put in, being the best producer there is in showbiz, and, you know, talking about things that happen, like the toxicity, the Iron Wolf situation, flip-flopping, and you doing things for free and so on. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I was saying you weren't supposed to say the name, but go ahead.
Okay.
You're supposed to use
You can say the name. Everyone knows.
That's all right. I might get bumped on Twitter. Who cares? Anyways, J-Dubs, the reason I asked you all these questions is because it's a theme. So you're doing all this work for Mooch and Crap, and I have to ask you now, after I hear you're sweating in the background, you're doing this blood, sweat, and tears, passion, and you're just doing this really for the community. You just said that I don't care about the numbers. I don't care about the revenue as much. I care about putting on a good show for the community. This is for the culture. But J-Dubs, in order to do this production, in order to have this great show that almost evolved beyond being a podcast, I have to ask you, how much did these two individuals, Mooch and Crap, invest into you? how much money did they put back into the show and make it better for you? Did you at all have to get outside help? Did you have to ask for equipment from outside sources? Tell us.
For sure. Like, I didn't have a proper mic at the time, so I had to get myself a mic. They actually did send me money. Okay, and this probably goes back to when we started doing Patreon. So on top of making sure that the views were up, the guys thought, this might be a perfect opportunity to start our Patreon and start making some money there, and then we would invest that money back into the show to make the show better. Yeah, and which I was all for, and I said, well, as long as we, we're splitting it, and I'm all for that. So when we started doing Patreon, that grew fairly fast, and by the end of it, I think we were up to over 100, and I'm going to say 101 or 100, either between 101 and 110 supporters.
That's crazy.
And we were making over $500 a month just on Patreon. So every month, and on top of the bills that I had to pay, like, because we were also paying for Libsyn account so we could put all of our recorded podcasts on iTunes and Google Play and whatever, all that stuff. So that was a $20 a month bill. We were also paying for, there was another bill I was paying for. I can't remember what it was. Anyway,
you guys were on like iTunes and shit like that too, right?
Yeah. We were
That's
on
not
iTunes.
cheap. That's not cheap.
Wait, hold on. You were talking about paying bills. What do you mean paying bills? So this Patreon money went to paying bills, but I'm talking about, like, what did they invest into you for doing all this work?
Okay, so every month, Mooch or Crap was in control of Patreon, and he would send me $120. So $100 would be for me, and the $20 would be for the Libsyn account.
Okay.
So it's $120. He said that he was getting 100, Mooch was getting 100, and I was getting 100, and the rest was going to taxes. That's what he was telling me.
Taxes.
Yeah.
I don't know the word of taxes, Moss. You do. Can you elaborate on that for me? What do you mean? What taxes are you talking about?
Hold on. I want to make sure that okay, let me digest this, and let me make sure that the chat can digest this. Hold on. So, you each were quote unquote getting 100 supposedly from this Patreon, which I was a Patreon member. Again, I was a Patreon member.
So was I.
And I had the failing voice recording that I sent in, right? There was more than $300, but set that aside. Let's play devil's advocate. Let's pretend that there was only $300 there, right?
Right.
Why, under the Patreon system, does any of them have to turn into Grover Warquest and become the tax man? Like, when did that happen? That's not how it works. That's not even how the setup works. So, help me understand, or help us understand, what was the explanation given to you on why they were taking taxes out of your cut? Like you were some rich little kid that couldn't handle your own finances.
There was no explanation, really. I kind of didn't even question it. It was just basically that's where the money is going, because I know that there was a couple times where I was saying, I might have said to Crap, that, you're sending me $120, but 20 of that's going to the Libsyn account. The other 100, where's the extra money? But I also forgot to say that also money was put away for the $60 game, because we gave away one $60 game per month.
Yeah, fair enough.
So that's true. So let me correct that. But still, in the end, the rest of the money, Crap kept saying, well, the rest goes to taxes. So he's saving it up in a pot somewhere under his mattress, I guess.
Yeah, are you talking about the Crapgamer tax? Like, what tax are we talking about? Like, I don't get this.
Yeah, the Norquest, the Grover Norquest tax. I guess you know what I mean. Okay, let me ask this. Let me ask this too, because now you've got my spidey senses tingling. What other? When it came to equipment, you announced that they did give you money for equipment one time.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I got that. They bought me a an Elgato Stream Deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I could basically click the buttons and get the get the scenes jumping around and getting things popping up fairly easily, because before I was just clicking on the in OBS. And I don't know if a lot of people even know this, but if they've ever seen an image of my setup for MNC Mornings,
Oh yeah,
I literally had
not
3
controls.
screens.
Yeah.
I had that. Yeah, it was like the Batcave.
Yeah.
I had 2 screens in front of me. One screen had the podcast on it, so I could monitor it and monitor the chat. The other one had our Hangouts on it and had Twitter. And then I had a Surface tablet that had the live calls coming in from Skype, because I had to have them separate because I couldn't have them feeding in.
Yeah.
And then I also had an iPad, and the iPad was used for the sound effects. I had a soundboard on it. So if anyone, people know me as, the one-handed gamer, because I play games at one hand, but I literally would have needed like 5 hands to do everything I was doing. But I was taking care of it, and I was, swiveling my head back and forth and making sure things were.
And all of that for more or less free, because you said the money you do get basically goes straight into paying for the show anyways.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're doing this while, to really say, blankly impaired, and you're running literally NASA controls. So J-Dubs, out of all that equipment too, they pay for the Stream Deck. That's cool. Did they really pay for anything else though?
They didn't. Okay, so we got a donation from
a donation.
guy,
okay.
And I'm trying to think who the guy was, what his name was. But we got a donation for me to get a mic. And I can't remember his name. I feel bad, because if he's listening, I'm not forgetting you on purpose. I'm terrible with names, but
well, you know what? Go ahead. Try to remember the name, because I'm sorry, I have to jump in here real quick. Okay, and just answer this question. Okay, so let's try it this way. Me and Neethles run XBR podcast. You know, for full transparency, after the shows, we talk about shit that we need. Okay, right? And then we talk about financially how we may tackle that obstacle. Okay. Now, granted, MNC show is there's 3 talents there. One is the producing talent that's making MNC show be MNC show. Otherwise, it's just another Google Hangouts. And then you have 2 verbal talents. Guys that are good wordsmiths, right? But so what our mind state at XBR is that regardless of what your assigned task is, everybody collectively adds into what makes the show run, right? So what was it? I mean, was it that your talent was looked at lesser than their talent as the verb, to where there wasn't that constant collective contribution towards equipment? Because they alluded to that in their shows. Hey guys, give us money. It's going to go towards the equipment. Was it they alluding to, hey guys, give us money. When we give Jay his cut, he's going to buy equipment. You know what I'm saying? Like, help us understand that piece of it.
That's basically kind of how it went. Yeah.
Wow.
It's funny you even bring that up, is the whole talent side of things. That and I'm not taking anything away from anyone who can talk, because that does take some talent.
Yeah.
That's right. But no word of a lie, Mooch once said to me, because this was during the times when I was getting a little disgruntled about the situation, and I said, I told him, I said, I put a lot of work into the show, and I'm not getting a whole lot out of it. And he said to me that it's just as hard for him to talk for 2 hours as it was for me to do what I did for the week.
Hey, let me just throw this in there too. Again, I'm not trying to put a target on anybody's back. I have heard shows with those guys talking, right? Like, where one of the bigger topics, Neethles and Jay, has been, what's been going on with crunch and gaming, right? So I'll hear these guys talk about standing, and I've stood for several hours and all this other shit, right? But I'm a programmer too. I do programming. I build SQL databases, shit like that for Fortune 500 companies. That's one of the hats that I wear. I wish it was the only hat. When you're programming for several hours a day, every day, for me, I was on a project for 9 months straight. I worked 6 to 7 days a week, 10, 11, 12, 13 hours a day. That's a warp of your mind. The mind is the central, piece, or the main piece of your body. When your mind is warped, you can't do anything. So talking and then programming and controlling switchboards are two totally completely different animals. But I've heard these guys talk about this and try to equate it to other things too. You know what I'm saying? So it sounds like a lot of that was happening here. Is that right, to where they were like,
yeah, I would say so. You know, like they were putting a lot of value on you know, them. Yes, they were the hosts. Yes, they were probably the reason why people were showing up, because they were already established. People knew who they were, and God forbid, I'm going to use the term, they were popular.
Yeah,
I hate that term. Trying to keep it out of my teenage girls' heads. The popularity is not that important, but no, it doesn't work that way.
Ones. Yeah, go ahead.
That's right. So, you know, and that was the reason why they could justify why, you know, that what I did was, you know, not as important as what they were providing to the show.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. And you know what? I find ironic that Mooch in particular told you that, J-Dubs, because Mooch is the one who makes his famous rant about PC gaming and how it's so complicated. Who wants to get under their PC and fix it 24/7? Who wants to go there and mess with their thing? I like to sit back on my couch and game on my console. So I find it ironic that he knows you're working with NASA controls over there, and he says that to you.
Yeah, well,
that you're working with multiple monitors, with multiple setups, doing a stream deck thing, and he says, well, me just sitting here talking is just as much work as you. Now, I'm not saying he's not doing a lot of work, because absolutely. Mooch has a talent. Believe it or not, Mooch has a talent. Yeah. But the fact that he does that and says, well, your work isn't nearly as much as mine, I find that very ironic.
Yeah. I mean, he could literally be a paraplegic sitting there. Yeah, exactly. All he can do is talk.
Yeah.
And he's still Mooch.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't doing everything that I was doing,
it's just another Google Hangouts.
That's right. Yeah. Just another Google Hangout.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lethal.
Go ahead. But I will at this point. So speaking about this stuff you're doing, this NASA control system you have, because I've seen this, Jay, and I asked you personally one time in an Xbox party, Jay, how the hell do you manage that? Like, I can't wrap my hand around that. Like, I'm just sitting here staring at this chat, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot going on. But I do want to ask you, so, you know, we talk about toxicity and stuff in the community and so on. And Mooch and Crap, you know, we just learned the money they give to you essentially gets invested right back into the show, and you really don't get a cut. But, you know, you said you accepted a donation for something, and I believe, maybe I'm mistaken, you also were donated an Elgato originally from, I think it was Next Gen, right?
Oh, from Next Gen. So actually, though, what happened there was Next Gen had mentioned, because I had said to him one time that it would be great if I had an Elgato so that I could run my Surface tablet with an HDMI into the show, so we could, you know, make it a little better. So he and I came up with a deal that I was going to create him a quick little intro, and he would send me. So it wasn't donated; it was kind of like payment for. But I can say honestly that the Elgato was probably worth more than the intro I gave him.
Yeah,
because the intro I gave him,
because like he just gave you like an Elgato, which an Elgato costs what, at least $100. But you know, he just gave that to you, and of course made it the intro. But you know, that's something like he's giving back to you, so you can go out and do something. I just find it weird that Zaire, who has nothing to do with the show, went and did that for you.
But that's the thing about Zaire. Zaire is a caring person. A lot of people don't know that about him. They don't see that side of him.
They just see him as toxic.
Yeah, that's all they see, because that's what they want to see. But there's a different side to Z, and you know, maybe
Z.
Yeah, like maybe it's to his benefit to to keep people thinking that way right now. But Z is an awesome guy, and he would give you the shirt off his back. He really would.
Yeah, but speaking about giving shirts off your back, so Z, believe it or not, this Mooch and Crap thing, great show, whatever. Mooch and Crap, you know, they started it, but it wasn't actually their idea. Originally, this whole morning show was actually an idea Z was talking about a while back, and they actually took this. So it sounds like, I know you had nothing to do with this, Jay, but it sounds like
no idea.
They took this idea and then went to you with it.
Yep.
Huh. Yeah. Well, this is the first time I've hearing this.
Yeah. They didn't even come up with it. That was a Zaire idea. But, you know, he let him keep it. And I think Zaire, like, guest starred one time on that. But I just want people to know, you know, Zaire, who had this idea, who originally was coming up with this show, didn't have it because Mooch and Crap took it and ran with it, and that's cool. They were part of BGST, and they took Grahic on stuff. And Zaire even donated equipment to the show, or well, not donated, but you guys know what I mean.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
he didn't just merely say, "Hey, look, I have an idea. I'm the talent. You find the Elgato, and I'll just speak." You know,
I'm about to say, he literally gave you an Elgato, and he didn't ask for much in return.
No, not at all. I mean, it was kind of like he probably would have given it to me for nothing, but I kind of said, you know, being the Canadian that I am, I'm like, I don't like to take anything for nothing. So I probably said to him at one point, you know, like, is there anything I can do for you? And he said, well, I want you to throw together a little intro for me. And that was probably it, you know. And I would have done that for him for nothing, but because he's Z. But, you know, the fact that there was that little exchange, you know, like that was, you know, benefited both of us.
And, you know, while you were putting on the Mooch and Crap show and, you know, great talent and, you know, the show was blowing up, did anyone ever approach you to do something similar for their shows? Like, I think, didn't Z approach you one time?
Yeah, Z did. And I had a couple other people did. Even, what's his name? Dealer Gaming did too. But
Dealer? Interesting. Talk about that.
Yeah, Dealer did too. But I was honest with them. I said, listen, you know, MNC takes up enough of my time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm already taking enough time out of my family away from my family to do this. I mean, believe it or not, even though the show was only on Sunday for 2 hours, I was spending all Friday, all Saturday, and during the week just prepping for the show. So it was really taking a lot of my time away from the family.
Hell, Jay, you were spending all Sunday morning. I know I was DMing you shit, and you're like, okay, let me add this in real quick. Like, you were doing this like crazy.
Oh yeah, I would get up at 7 in the morning.
Yeah,
sometimes
7?
8 in the morning, just to get the shit ready. Because sometimes they wouldn't send me material until the night before, till like Saturday at like midnight. I'd get a file, and I was like, oh god, okay, I'll get up early in the morning and I'll edit it then.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff.
Jay, you're doing all this work, and I think this actually has a story to do with your avatar we see on the screen. You want to talk about that avatar? That's something you kind of rebranded yourself as around the time when you left MNC, I believe.
Yeah. Well, it was actually just before I left.
Just before. Okay.
Yeah. So this was kind of a funny thing, you know, that the whole monkey persona, because, you know, Mooch was an eagle to represent America. Crap was the albino rhino. And so to keep with the whole animal theme, I designed myself as the monkey. And they probably don't know this, but they might know this after the show, that I designed the monkey because I was feeling very underappreciated. You know, the term, even a monkey can do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Well, I was getting, I kind of felt that way because they would always come to me and say, hey, Jay, why don't you do this together? That shouldn't take you very long.
Exactly.
And it was like, really? Like, you guys don't have a clue how long this stuff takes. Yeah. You know, like I'm sometimes editing a half-hour skit for 6 hours. You know, like this.
That's not okay. Do you guys still hear me? Okay, make sure my mic isn't lagging. And you're doing this more or less pro bono. Like, you're doing this for free. And I have to ask you, Jay, since you have all the equipment and all that, you know, in order to do these shows, a lot of it as the host and stuff, right? Like, I think they just basically shared your screen. I know Moss has to do a bunch of shit in the tail end, and it takes him like a half an hour to get ready. But he does that for the show, right? So, J-Dub, in order for you to put on this production, wouldn't it have been easier to maybe sometimes switch accounts? Like, were you able to ever access maybe Crapgamer's account or Mooch's account to make the show better?
Well, that was the thing, like, because of the way that the show was running, it ran either on Mooch's channel or Crap's channel. And I, even from the beginning, I was trying to say to them, you know, why don't we put this on all 3 channels? And I was even trying to get them to use OBS, but they didn't want anything to do with it. They didn't want to touch it. They didn't want to learn it. I was the expert, apparently, and I would make things run smoother. So I was the only person that could run it. Therefore, when the shows ran, because they ran on each of their channels, I would basically put their stream keys into OBS. So I was basically running OBS from my computer, but it was streaming on their channels. I often would say, you know, we should put this on 3 channels, because I was trying to, at one point, boost my viewers on my channel, which I didn't have very many, and I still don't have that many. But I kept getting excuses from them saying, you know, Crap kept saying, oh, that'll kill the channel. That'll kill the channel. You know, we can't have it on 3 different channels because people will stop watching. You know, at that point, it was becoming all about the views and all about the people that were showing up. And that was starting to weigh on me quite a bit, that, you know, every show, before the show and after the show, it was talking about, oh, we only had this many views, or we only had this many people in the chat, or we only had this many likes. It was like, it was starting to really bother me. And then around that time was when people started doing super chats. I think super chats came into play. And
I'm sorry not to cut you off, Jay, but I just wanted to give a shout out real quick to BGST Big Gamer Small Talk with the $5 donation. We appreciate it. Unfortunately, the alert box was off, so that's why you couldn't see it. But sorry about that. Okay, go ahead.
So after several pleas with them to share it on 3 channels, and I honestly, I just gave up, you know, asking them. And I even at one point would talk to Mooch behind the scenes, because I was more friends with Mooch than I was with Crap. You know, there was even a point where when Mooch and I were working together so long that we even said, you know, if you ever come to Nova Scotia, please stay with me. And if I ever come to New York, I'm going to stay with you, blah, blah, blah. That's how close we were getting. But I was quickly finding out that he wasn't coming to my defense at all. He wasn't saying to Crap that, yeah, we should share this on 3 channels. And that's when I started realizing that, you know, this show was more than just about creating something unique. To them, it was turning into a revenue stream.
Yeah,
a revenue stream.
Revenue.
Exactly.
Yeah,
part of lucky. Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, it's the elephant in the room, and I'll finally let Moss do some questions. But
that's all right.
All right, the elephant in the room is, you know, J-Dubs, Crap was a decently sized YouTube channel. Like, he was 50,000 plus subscribers, right?
For sure.
So have you ever felt that maybe Crap was hiding some of this revenue from you? Why maybe he cared so much about it? Because if he never let you access his account, if he never let you put the Mooch and Crap show on different channels, do you think he was afraid of you seeing the actual revenue that's coming in for this show?
Oh, for sure. I think I was starting to think that near the end when I was getting very upset. Like, I was putting in so much time, and I was getting stressed out about it. And then this was around the time where I was running into some financial issues. We had a bunch of appliances bust within several months, and I had to replace them all. And first thing I thought was, maybe if the guys would share the channel with me, I could make up enough money so that I could pay, like, because I was financing 3 appliances, I could pay for the, you know, like the monthly bill. And when they basically flat out didn't want to share it, that's when I started looking more at how much money was coming in. I mean, I've never known how much money was coming in. I've never known how much money any podcast has ever made. I know that there's a couple websites out there that kind of give you an estimate. But I never knew how much the show ever made. But I was seeing the super chats coming in. You know, the super chats were coming in every week. I think there was on average, they were making at least $200 a show in super chats. And at one point I said to Mooch, and this was probably after the show, like, because we would always talk, and I don't think Crap was there at the time. I think it was him and I said to him, hey man, how can I get in on these super chats? Because I could really use it. And he swear to God, he looked at, well, he didn't look at me because we were chatting. He says, start yourself a YouTube channel.
Wow.
The same people that are telling you can't put this show on your own YouTube channel to get some revenue, we're now telling you make your own YouTube channel and put in some extra work, and maybe you can earn some money. That's what they were telling you.
Maybe you'll be lucky that people will come and watch you, and maybe you'll make 5 cents.
Wow. So let me see if I got this right again. And again, I don't want, I mean, this is a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good things to absorb and digest. I just don't want anybody to miss any part of it. And again, this is not to be a target, but again, the theme of the show is, you know, the mucky shit that happens in YouTube. Okay, but I think you hit something on something very important. We already established that a lot of the equipment that you had to buy was self-funded, right?
Yeah, a lot of it was for sure.
You were working, spending time away from your family, Friday nights. as a married person myself, I know how difficult that can be to explain that to your better half, right? Let alone your kids. And then you were at a point, because we all hit a rock bottom. Full disclosure, I kind of had some problems where I had to step away a little bit earlier this or late last year or something like that, because I had to get ready for a move. But you were at a place to where you had some appliances busted up. You went and donated your own portion to give them equipment so they can get their cash cow, but there wasn't that same community mindship to help you get just some of your appliances busted up to where you had to finance them. Is that what you're telling us, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, they would even give me excuses like, well, I think Crap even said to me one time, well, there's no real money to be made. We're only making $30 a show.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Oh, okay.
Lord Jesus.
Okay, that's interesting. No, J-Dub, I got to ask you this, because I stopped tuning into Mooch and Crap at one point, but I know at one point you tweeted out how, like, you know, can you GoFundMe for your appliances, right? And you had to do that. It's interesting that they were making so much money, but you had to go out and do that. Now, I want to ask, during the Mooch and Crap show, obviously they knew about your situation. Did they ever advertise that GoFundMe?
I advertised it myself. They never did.
So they never mentioned it.
No, I made sure that there was always a ticker or something coming on the screen that people could see it. And, you know, I didn't make a whole lot of money off it. And I thought I was really kind of embarrassed to even do it in the first place. Because
they're making you feel embarrassed to do it. That's the fucked up part. Like, look, this is going a little beyond me at this point. So you you had appliances broken. You're out here blood, sweat, and tears into doing this show, and they not even mentioned that you have a GoFundMe. Said like, hey guys, you know, Jay's going through a hard time. Do you think you can maybe donate? Maybe take some of these super chats and donate to his cause. You know, just help him out a little bit. They didn't once mention any of that.
And you know what? Either of them never gave me 1 red cent either.
Not even 1 red.
Like not even like a, hey Jay, we're gonna donate to your Patreon. Not a penny.
Big up to Carlos Fernandez in the chat, man. I feel you. Hey, but I saw your comment before. I'm dumbstruck, man. He says, tell J Dubs them fuck dudes or straight bozos for that weak shit. We all eat on some real shit, you know. I mean, to translate that, wow. It's like, wow. So, no, continue to elaborate. I'll wait. I'm still trying to digest.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
Sorry. Yeah, yep, unbelievable. I mean, so with that being said, Jay, okay, with that being said, what were your immediate thoughts? How did things changed right after that? Like that really changed your thought.
Well, yeah,
okay,
yeah. I mean, the fact that you know they never donated to my Patreon or to my GoFundMe. Yeah. They were non-responsive to me, to wanting to share the channel revenue with me.
Oh shit.
And it got to the point where it was like, well, okay, I have these bills I got to pay, and I had started doing the XboxGamerPicks.com. I'm not sure if many people know about that. So I started doing that.
I got my fine avatar.
Yeah. So I started doing that so that I could make some extra dollars so I could pay for my bills every month. And it was around then when I realized, you know what? If I was doing avatars more rather than spending 15 to 20 hours a week doing M&C, I could probably get a lot more avatars in and, you know, pay my bills. And between the avatars that I do and the shirts that I sell, and if anyone knows, I sell shirts on Redbubble, just between those two things, I'm just making enough money to pay my $200 and some bill every month. So, you know, and that's how I do it. And that's how I had to do it. So I had to step away from M&C, focus on what was important. But it was a long time coming. I mean, a lot of people will say, well, why didn't you leave a lot earlier? Well, I probably should have. And I think part of me kept thinking, you know, they'll come around, things will get better. But they just never did, so I had to do it.
I have to say this, Graphic guys, in the beginning of the show, King's Blood Gaming said one thing to me, and it really stuck. Some of the YouTubers you meet, it's like learning how magic works. They're not who you think they are. And I really want to address this one thing in the chat from Saltia's Gaming, and he brought up a great point. J-Dubs, you were genuinely going through a hard time. You needed money, you had bills, and all this, right? I don't know if you know the truth behind this, but I do. How did you feel about when Crapgamer did an emergency live stream about a hurricane that apparently took away all his Xbox stuff? His PlayStation stuff was fine, by the way, but only his Xbox shit got fucked up. A little odd, but all right.
I heard about that after the fact, and this was probably this was after. I mean, I heard about the fraudulence of the accusation after the fact.
Can you like give the whole story just for the audience because they may not know?
Well, I mean, I can only give you what I know, and what I've been told was that he was putting online that he had lost a lot of stuff, and he was getting donations from people because he had said because of the hurricane he had lost a lot of stuff and things were damaged. And I guess the truth is that he wasn't even affected by the hurricane. Where he was located in Florida wasn't even affected, and this was all just a clever ploy. I think it was in Next Gen that brought it to my attention. But I was there. I was there on MNC when he was because we were supposed to have a show, and we were unsure if the show was even going to go on because we didn't think that Crap was going to be able to go online. So we thought his internet was going to be down.
You guys were also duped.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Let me say this because I'm going to be honest with you guys, and we all talked about this. We originally didn't want this to be a hit job. We wanted this to be an insightful peer into YouTube gaming with details, transparent details. But I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm like for dumped, and I just made that word up. So like out of it. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's go there. For full disclosure, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, those listening on demand or those in the chat that don't understand what's going on, during which storm was that in Florida? I can't remember.
Oh, geez. Well, it would have been
Irma. I don't even know.
Yeah, there was a storm in Florida, right? To where and Crapgamer resides in Florida. All right, and this is important to me because I was one of the people that listened to the show at the time that was concerned about it. Was like, hey, I hope you're all right, Crap.
We all were.
Yeah, we all were
concerned.
Yep. Yeah. So he had stated that he was in the eye of the storm and he was relaying messages through Mooch, quote unquote. And again, I'm not implicating Mooch. I don't know what the real deal is. But somehow through the YouTube channels, right, it got exposed that he really wasn't in the eye of the storm. But while people thought he was, he asked for he got donations to replace, quote unquote broken consoles and all types of shit. Well, when they found out, he was confronted. First he tried to deny it, and then finally he said, "What, Nethos? Oh, all right," and he gave it up. But to this day, that show, if you go to Crap's channel, that show is still there. It's still there. So, I mean, again, you didn't know. Of course, you didn't know this at the time, Jay. But with so a dog is going to be a dog. Okay, I'm just going to say. There's no other way to say it but to say it. The dog is going to be a dog. You said you've always sensed that stench, in so many words, off of Crap.
Right.
But how does it really make you feel now to this day? I know how you said you looked into how Mooch was kind of aiding and abetting this, but how does it make you feel to this day to where you decided to make that sacrifice, take away time from your wife and your family, money, to do this mainly out of a relationship that you had with Mooch, for him to just to kick you off the pier and say, "Oh well, this is my friend now." How does that make you feel to this day?
Yeah, and I think about that, I guess, quite a bit. I was really messed up over the whole situation after it did happen. And for the longest time, I was very bitter. I guess to a point, I'm still a little bitter about it, especially because of Mooch, because I thought Mooch was a friend. And just to be honest with people that are listening, to this day, Mooch has never shared a cent of revenue from his own channel for me. Like I've never seen a cent of anything, and that kind of bothered me. I thought about that after the fact of all this. Like I said, yeah, he didn't even share what he promised that he was going to do. And back then, money wasn't the concern, right? It was all about learning how to do this stuff. But I'm beginning to feel that, Mooch and Crap are basically made for each other because, and to be honest with you, they need each other. They need each other. Like, if you think about it, Mooch needs Crap because Crap has a huge following. Yeah. And Crap needs Mooch because Mooch carries every show.
Yeah.
Gotcha. He's the talker.
Gotcha. Yeah. Mooch can do the quote unquote talent only once or twice a week, right? Or 3 times
Yeah.
when he's, you know, he doesn't have to pop videos every day like Crap, because Crap
right.
is putting in all the elbow work. But like you said, Mooch is the talent that holds the glue together as far as the entertainment is concerned. But it's just a shame, you know, like as a guy that does technical stuff, you know, you hate it. You're behind the scenes, so you understand where people may not fully appreciate what you do. But to just be slighted like that, man, that's beyond a level of grimy, you know. And all I can say is YouTubers, just when you're getting into this industry, like King's Blood told us, just beware, man. Beware. There are a lot of shit that happens.
It's like learning how magic works. Like, I'll tell you guys a story, and you guys probably already know it. The chat probably knows it, but fuck, I'm gonna say it again. So, back in 2017, when I first joined this community, about a few weeks after I joined, I had a house fire. My house burned down. My family business burnt down. I had the shirt on my back, bare feet. My glasses were gone. And I'm blind as a bat, by the way, without my glasses. So I didn't even see how bad it really was until after the fact when the fire went out and the firefighters left. And then I just went to the back of the place and saw the pure destruction. I lost literally everything. I only had my cell phone, really. And even in that, I want you guys to know, me and my family, we didn't take a damn cent from anyone because it's just how we're raised. We don't accept help easily, right? We're stubborn. It's to our fault at points. But the fact that we went through that, and Mooch and Crap knew about this, by the way, because I was a huge fan. I remember I was like tweeting a bunch, and it was really sad. But not once did they like DM me or anything. It's like, hey, Neth, you all right? Not once did they do anything like that. Even Luca DM me like, you all right? And they didn't invite me to their show or anything. They knew I was a huge fan. And I remember, J-Dubs, I sent you a video. It was really sad or whatever. And I was like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. You want to know what happened after they played the little promo on the Mooch and Crap show? Granted, it was a shitty video. But you want to know what happened? They didn't clap. They didn't say, hey, good job, Neth. They just said, no, they just left. They literally left at my YouTube video after it played. Yeah. Just so you know, it was a crappy YouTube video. I'm not going to deny it. It was dog shit. But even though they know what I was going through and probably how fucked up I was at that point, they literally laughed at my YouTube video.
Well, just to let people know that, you know, it was all about the image back then for them. It was all about the image. That's why Mooch, when he got, I don't know, it was DDoSed is the proper term to use, but when he got outed, you know, he was pretty pissed about it, and that's why he left for a long time. But when he came back, it was all about, let's make sure we don't do anything that gets us kicked off again or gets somebody pissed off enough that they're going to do that to us again, which to a point I can understand that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, you also have to take into consideration that you don't get anywhere unless you take risks, right? Yeah. You don't go anywhere. You're going to be just like everyone else unless you take risks. And that's kind of why I decided for them, because we were getting the calls in from Yoshida, and then me and Danny got to know each other, and then he started sending videos. And I thought the videos were hilarious. Were they kind of racist? Maybe a little bit, because he put on that accent. Yeah. But it was nothing was meant to be. It was not meant to insult anyone. It was just meant to him to put on a character. Yeah. And when that was happening, Mooch and Crap were like, we can't do any more Yoshida videos. We can't do it anymore because people will think we're racist and they'll stop watching us. It was all about making sure that people kept coming back and weren't insulted or offended. And, you know, that was just another example of when things started changing, and it wasn't about the entertainment. It was about how many people can we get in here that are going to be satisfied with the material that are going to give us some money.
Wow. I mean, I think what ended up happening, and get you guys' thoughts on this in the chat too, you know, most of us are Xbox guys. There's a few exceptions in here, and everybody's welcome on this channel. Thank you, everybody, for joining. The people watching, the people that donated, you know, everybody's welcome. We have discussions with everybody. But with that being said, I think as Xbox enthusiasts, or even if you want to call yourself fanboys, I think what it was is we were looking for a form of entertainment that catered to our taste. So we all, you know, flocked together as a community. But as we started to see that there was money involved, right, and then personas started to get, you know, bigger and bigger and bigger, it went from a sense of community just to a sense of me, you know, and it's stories, and I've seen it myself. I've seen it myself behind the scenes. You know, it seems to me that a lot of times why we get ridiculed as an Xbox community is because of some of this stuff. So because of that, Jay, what do you think are lessons learned from your whole experience, man? I mean, again, I'm still amazed. I'm still trying to digest this, but there has to be silver lining somewhere. What do you think are the lessons learned? Uh-oh.
Oh,
Jay had to
did we
step
lose
away
Jay?
a little bit. Oh, yeah, he's muted.
Oh, okay, he muted his mic.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're digesting this. Like, what do you think about all this, Moss? Like, how shocked are you?
Oh, sorry.
You're back? Okay, perfect.
Okay. Now, I was going to say, Jay, so what are your thoughts? What are your lessons learned from all this?
I'm going to say that, you know, I'm not going to go down that legal road where everyone should have a contract.
Yeah.
But I just learned that, you know, go into any kind of partnership with expectations, you know, already laid out on the table. You know, make sure everyone knows what's going on. Because my biggest mistake was I assumed that things would get better and things would, you know, we would share things 3 ways. That was all an assumption on my part, but because those guys knew how much money was coming in, knew how much money they could make by continuing doing a certain thing, you know, money took over and the greed took over. You just have to, you know, what I did learn out of all this is that be good at what you're doing and not to worry about what people think. But, you know, that's not always the way with everybody. That's all.
Yeah. Well, do you have any regrets? Like, for example, have you ever maybe turned a blind eye to things in the community? Like Mooch and Crap, I imagine with the way they were with you, I imagine they probably were talking too fond of maybe other YouTubers. Have you ever felt you had to turn a blind eye and almost regretted doing so?
Oh, man. Like, yeah, like, and that was something else. Because, like, when we would have conversations before and after shows, there was always someone else in the community always came up, because if they were being successful, you know, there was always like, well, I can't stand that guy because how can that guy get 40,000 views on his video and we don't? And I don't want to name names or anything.
No,
but,
that's fine.
Yeah.
But you know, they would allude to it by doing funny little sounds to kind of give people the idea of who they were talking about. They do the banjo sound, and they were just making fun of people. I mean, we used to do a lot of recordings for the countdowns and for the rundowns and stuff, and I probably have like hours of conversations recorded just because I'd keep the recording going. And it was never meant that I was going to use it for malicious purposes. I just, one day I was kind of going through them and it was like, oh my God, I can't believe they said that about that guy and said that about that guy. But it turned into like a jealousy thing. Like, I can't believe that guy's doing so good. You know, like there was even talking, I'll even say this now because I can, and nobody was surprised that there was, I remember them talking about Z when Z was like on 10 different podcasts. Like, you know, it was all about, you know, why is he doing so many? And it was mainly because they knew that Z was successful in what he was doing. He was getting the views, and they only had one show each at the time. I think this might have been even before Crossfire, or maybe it wasn't. I don't remember. But I mean, Crap always had his show, and he did his daily podcast. But then there was MNC, and MNC at the time was bringing in way more views than any of their other shows. But when they saw success coming from other people, all they did was badmouth them, and it was sad. And that's when it started playing on me, because some of these people that were badmouthing, you know, I liked them and they're friends of mine, and I probably had helped them out somehow. And you know, people can say, "Well, Jay, you're just as much to blame because you didn't say anything." And you know what? I'll take the L for that, because maybe I didn't say anything. Maybe I was in that stage where I was hoping they were going to, you know, turn what's the term? You know,
turn a new leaf, maybe.
Turn a new leaf and start wanting to share stuff with me. And I was always had that in the back of my mind that at some point we will all be partners. You know, we were supposed to be partners, but I just felt like the unpaid intern. That's all.
No, Jay, you didn't feel it, but you were the unpaid intern. I'm
absolutely.
sorry, you were the unpaid intern. Like, did you ever feel like maybe you were being just foolish this whole time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
like a lot. Okay.
Yeah, quite a bit. Like after the whole thing happened, I was quite embarrassed. I didn't even want to talk to people about it because I know that people would say to me, "Well, then why did you do it for so long?" Well, I did it because I had faith.
That was my next question, Jay. Like, why did you...
I'm reading your mind, Mom. This is why I'm your co-host.
But again, it seems like that I've experienced something like that at work. It's like it's a rat race, and people, when they do put you in that position, they psychologically know what they're doing. And it sounds like in order for you to be somebody that defended Xbox at every turn, but in 2019, all of a sudden want to hate Xbox, it's the worst thing ever at the 12th hour, you have to have a sense of psychology, right? A lot of this stuff is psychologically related. And when you get a following like that, when you can turn, when you can, let me give you guys an example. I remember a BGST where my co-host Neethles was on, and you were giving somebody that work. You were giving crap that work about him not liking Spider-Man, but him loving Sunset Overdrive. And then you asked him, well, what was your game of the year? And he lied and said it was Tomb Raider. And then come to discover that Tomb Raider wasn't even out. And just that quick, when he got exposed, I can't remember the lie that he came up with. But he came up with a lie that was so quick, so sharp, and so psychologically passing that it just shows you that these people have a way to manipulate people. And I think they probably knew that they were able to put this pressure on you, Jay. Do this, Jay. It shouldn't, quote unquote, it shouldn't take you that long. You see what I'm saying? You see the seeds they were planting? So, I mean, I get it. It was a question I had. But don't down yourself too much. Now you've gone through that experience, and now you can relay it to other people out here in YouTube to help them understand what they shouldn't do or what they shouldn't let other people get away with.
It was my fault that I'm Canadian, that's all. I say yes to everything.
Those damn Maple Leafs, yeah. Wow. Okay.
But, we've been going on for a while, so I guess, do we have any wrap-up questions or anything you want to say, Jay, that we haven't asked you maybe?
I don't know. I think we kind of covered quite a bit.
Yeah.
But, if I was to give any advice to anybody that wants to get into the whole YouTube world, and a good example of someone who came to me who asked me for some advice was Mr. Boomstick XL.
Mm-hmm.
So he was getting into it. And, he said, Jay, how do I do this? And I just told him be himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I helped him out with his avatars and helped him out with his graphics and stuff like that. But, he keeps it positive.
Yeah.
He really does keep it positive. A lot of people can say that he's putting on an act and, maybe to a point he has to emphasize the positivity a little more than most people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's fine. That's
everybody has to have a brand. You got to have
that's
a brand.
right. But I really believe that he's a genuinely good guy.
Yeah.
I really do.
Mm-hmm.
He took a chance. He's doing 3 podcasts a week.
Mm-hmm.
Plus he's doing Mooch's podcast, and I somewhat feel a little bit bothered by the fact that he's still doing that, and he knows the whole situation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that's still doing podcasts with these guys, but yet know who they are, I have to question their integrity. I really do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's fair. I think that's fair. That's fair.
So I mean, if you're, I'm not insulting anyone. If anyone's listening and you guys are on podcasts with them, that's your business. But just know what you're getting into.
You got to look at the man in the mirror. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. It's great to promote positivity and all the other stuff, but then you don't want to step in a toxic realm, and it's kind of difficult to balance both of those. I get exactly what you're saying. So
yeah, and it shocked me the most to know that Mooch was just as selfish.
Yeah.
Maybe in a different way. I mean, Crap's his own person.
Yeah.
Crap's always had his motives, and Crap has a lot more views and a lot more people, and he sees the money coming in.
Yep.
And I understand that right now, Crap is probably using YouTube as a source of income.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty positive, and I'm not. I don't know facts, but I'm pretty positive Mooch doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
Okay, he's an engineer. I know how much engineers make.
Okay. Yep.
But he's doing it for fun. But the fact that he's doing this shit for fun, but yet he's still not representing people like me who do a lot of work and did a lot of work for him. Still kind of makes me wonder, what kind of a person he really is.
Absolutely. Well, hey, hey, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, MySpace, even the community. There was a lot to absorb today, and
can I get off the couch now?
Yeah, you can get off the couch, man.
Yeah.
No, and sometimes I tell people there are some things that I'm doing behind the scenes too, and I want to share my experiences with people that help them out, even though I'm nowhere near as successful as any of these people that we were talking about, including you, Jay. But whenever you can act like have a sense of community to the things that you do, I think it'll benefit everybody, and it'll always come back to you. So thank you for having that sense of community. Even if it did feel like a couch experience, thank you for having that sense of community coming on our show, right? Thank you for everybody in the chat coming on our show, and then giving that knowledge, dropping those gems to everybody out there that may not understand what it takes and what goes on behind the scenes. So we say thank you definitely to you, Jay. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
We really want to thank you because you have made these shows what they are today. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have my avatar. BGST wouldn't be where it's at. You are a key pillar in this community, and we're so lucky to have you that you were introduced to us. And Jay, I don't think you understand how important you really were. You were there since the beginning. Really, you were like the foundation of like this BGST brand, of everything that led after BGST, and you're still a big part of the community, and you still do the best avatars around. I said it. And honestly, Jay, you might have been confused earlier when I brought up the certain flip-flopper who was Iron, but I think it was kind of a theme throughout this whole adventure with us. So
you mean the wolf, the wolf that's in pony clothing?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, that's good. But it's almost like a theme. So he's the one who flip-flopped on you, threw you under the bus, and threw you out like, you were some bad chopped liver. And, the other two you worked with, they more or less did the same, because this is the part we didn't hit on, but I'll hit on real quick. After you left Mooch and Crap, you guys parted your ways, time scheduling or whatever, you just had to leave the show. I don't think they necessarily gave you your due, because they just went and got another producer and new avatars, and they almost threw your old avatars under the bus. I was almost disgusted when I heard what they said, like, oh, these are the best avatars around.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not to take anything away from Sean.
No, not at all.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Sean's amazing, and I'll I talk to Sean often, and he and I are actually we're gonna collaborate on something at some point. But Sean's stuff is great. But yeah, like I've heard some stories that they were basically saying that they've got the best director or best producer now, and like whatever.
And nothing against Sully.
Nothing against Sully, but again, it took a lot. It takes a lot to make the cogs move, and they still haven't got the phone calls up and running yet. Yeah, you know what I mean. So just to show you, and then, well, if you had to, not to say that they would take it, but if you had to give something to the new Jay, what would you say to the new Jay?
I had to give something. Oh my God!
As far as a word of advice to deal with the infamous two, what to be leery of?
Just take things one day at a time. Don't get your expectations too high. Yeah. And just realize that not everybody out there is exactly how they seem. Yeah. It's a hard reality to come to, but I've seen it happen so many times, starting with Iron Wolf, now these guys, that people are who they are, and I always give people the benefit of the doubt that they're good people, but it just goes to show that not everyone's good. Don't be fooled.
Sometimes it bites you. And again, all this work he's been doing for the most part for this community, for putting on that fantastic show with that production value, was all pro bono, and even a little bit more at times.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, I think that there was a lot of gems dropped today. Would you say so, Neethles?
Yeah, there was a lot of gems dropped. And also, we didn't really say this, but Jay, not only do I thank you for coming on the show, but thank you for feeling comfortable enough to, tell us all this.
Absolutely.
Like, this is not something easy to do.
Absolutely.
No,
This is not something easy
this was
to
like
do.
my therapy session. Like I said,
Yeah,
I
guess
was
so.
I was having a hard time with this for a long time, but it felt good to get some of this stuff out. And like I told you guys, you know, the purpose of me coming on here wasn't to throw people under the bus, but it was
Absolutely.
just to educate people, let people know what the real truth was. That's all.
It's the ugly side of gaming YouTube, like we titled it. Like that's all it is. And we're just telling you guys, you know, when you get into this stuff, some of you are already into it, you know, just always be yourself, mind your fellow podcast members, and you know, just be a good person.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's all we're telling you to do.
Treat people how you want to be treated.
Thank you. You know, it takes the Canadian to tell us that.
With that said, I think we can close on out. But before we do, I just want to say thank you everybody for listening to coming to this channel, XBR Podcast, Xbox Real Talk Podcast. And the aim of the podcast, again, if you missed it in the beginning, is to talk about all things Xbox gaming, whether it's with Microsoft themselves or even within the community, like how we did today. We're going to try to bring you regular guests on the show. We're going to try to do this either weekly or bi-weekly. We're working on a lot of stuff, you know, so stay tuned. Anything else before we head on out, Neethles?
You know, again, Jay, thank you. I've said this 1,000 times, but really, you killed it today, and you really were insightful on a lot of things. And, you know, these podcasts that people take granted for, you know, a lot of work has been done behind the scenes, and a lot of, I would guess, hardship has happened behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, for sure.
really?
And I hope you guys invite me to the show again.
Oh, we will. Yeah, definitely. We, you know, we're gonna be doing a lot of stuff around E3. So if you're willing to join us, man, we'd be happy to have you back on, man.
No, I'd be more than welcome.
All right. Well, with that said, people, thank you again for joining the return of XBR Podcast. And as I like to say, well, as Neethles like to say, keep it broadband. And as I like to say, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.